For over 2 years, legendary Jack Harrington vanishes off the grid of the animation meme community, leaving kids wondering if she actually went if he actually went through with suicide after the 30th time of him saying so. But on April 14th, 2024, Birdie makes his grand return to the already sped class of a community, dying for him to clear up the allegations from his chat logs with Draggy.
Why were you talking to our 12-year-old decoy on Roblox?
Or of what really happened with that ferret. Tune in as we examine this 1.5 of a fucking hour video of Birdie coming out to reveal absolutely nothing.
This freaky frog freaked out MF was wearing fetish gear and garter belts, half-torn clothes and had crazy two-toned hair and skin like a greasy paper bag and is confused why people are shooting her weird looks. You look like Night of the Living Sped.
As someone with immense sexual trauma, as a victim of grooming, as a victim of
Yo, what's up everybody, it's your boy Icy, and we're back to what's probably going to be a long video on the channel, where I get to clown on the animation meme or art community that has the environment of a cesspit. A community that would rather slash their wrists instead of getting a proper education. These people basically live off of fantasizing sex with their own characters and wearing septum piercings and garter belts while having Discord as their only aspect of a social life, preferring to let themselves get groomed by strangers instead of accepting love and support from their parents. Their body count stems specifically from erotic roleplays on public servers and e-sex sessions on private voice calls. These people, especially the person I'll be discussing on this video, are the walking epitome of allowing your 11-year-old child to have full access to the internet. This individual in particular is Sophia Harrington, but after finding himself relating to a YouTube video talking about why you should consider cutting your dick off, it goes by Jack. Oh, it would most prefer you to call it Lucifer, which still applies to homeless shelters too. This thing has owned a channel known as Birdie, aka Damaged Coda, and has drawn NSFW ever since he came out of the womb. Birdie is a chronically, terminally, and attention-seeking online degenerate who has been willing to commit suicide in multiple occasions without the internet.
If you cut off the internet, I'm gonna kill myself. You know that.
Now, it's essential to acknowledge that Birdie is an aro ace, gay, and trans man that does not tolerate transphobia against him in the slightest. So, if you were to ever deadname or misgender him, expect to see a long paragraph of an in-depth rape threat coming right at you. He claims to have a childhood experience akin to that of a Holocaust survivor due to being a victim of sexual, verbal, and physical abuse by his parents. He doesn't really say how his parents had these abusive qualities besides them yelling at him for acting like a fucking malingering dumbass, but he would bring up his Walmart receipt of mental illnesses that he pulled out of his ass to convince people of this. He's also disabled apparently, which probably explains why he needed his viewers to send him money, all for a wheelchair that he probably didn't even need. Oh, and he also hates capitalism as well.
fuck capitalism, fuck the public school.
Oh no! No!
Thought I should just, mention that. His 5 years of drama initially came to a halt in April 2024 after he made his return video, explaining and apologizing for the circus act that was going on throughout his career, but only really twisting things into his own perspective and taking accountability for like half the shit that really happened. The community was all quiet until new batches of drama involving his new roommate, or jerkmate, Cinny Bear, emerged throwing out allegations of pedophilia. Not fucking surprised. Now, I know jack shit about Cindy other than she's kind of like Birdie and makes the same kind of retarded content. So because of this, it raised more questions and awareness about Birdie's situation, wondering about his side of the story since he has a more personal connection to Cindy. It also reopened significant questions about the Birdie drama and his response to it. But of course, every time Birdie is questioned or confronted about the drama, he'll respond either referencing his return video or in an attempt to redirect the attention to Cindy, saying that the Birdie allegations have passed on and that people are refusing to call out an actual groomer in quotations. He thinks that just because the drama went quiet for a while means that nobody's allowed to question his vague responses to the allegations. He claims to have changed during his hiatus but still clings to victimhood and blames others for his own mistakes. He ignored several key issues entirely, turning situations where he should have taken accountability into ones where he victimized himself. He pulls claims about his parents and exes without evidence out of his ass, often excusing them as symptoms of mental illness, most in particular BPD, which I like to call the Birdie Pedo disorder. But overall, I don't buy into any of the excuses he makes about being traumatized to where he can't think properly. Especially when it's regarding a fucking Discord chat. I don't know, that's just me though. Yeah. So I'll be going into it to get more of the truth about why you yourself should not buy into the mental illness excuses, and instead understand why online dating is one of the most embarrassing life choices that one can make. So I won't waste any more of your time, let's get into it. So I'm pretty sure everyone in the animation community knows who Kitty Dog is. She's a popular YouTuber with 680,000 subscribers that makes furry animations and music. Seems like a pretty chill guy. Oh wait, until you figure out that she actually groomed a 12-year-old. That's at least what Birdie had to say in this video. Several years ago, I don't even know the exact year, but back when Birdie was 12 years old, she got into contact with 14-year-old Kitty Dog. As the two got to talking, they started engaging in some pretty naughty conversations, as well as some exchanges in NSFW art drawn by literal fucking children. I want you guys to remember when I say this because I will come back to this statement later on in the video. Birdie claims that Kitty Dog, who was drawing a bunch of porn of Birdie's characters, can confidently and unmistakably be perceived as a groomer in this situation. He explains this not because of the age gap, since that wasn't the issue, but the claim of a power dynamic that Kitty Dog had over Birdie.
The age gap wasn't like huge. I was 12 and she was 14. There was a huge power dynamic. Kitty Dog was aware of the power she had over me.
From this supposed Bill Cosby level power dynamic, Birdie was made to feel as though he could not say no to Kitty Dog's advances.
Later, when I was 13, she began drawing NSFW art of my sonas while also acknowledging that I was uncomfortable with it, but assumed that I would allow an exception for her because she's a popular creator that I looked up to. I consented to her drawing porn of me, but it was only because I was scared to say no.
Birdie said that Kitty Dog was aware that he was uncomfortable and didn't really give any evidence to this, but eventually Kitty Dog found out how he was really feeling about it, gay-ass drama broke out, KD's dog dildo got leaked, some Arabs car-bombed a hotel in Libya, and Hotline Miami 2 dropped. But yeah, there's nothing worth going in depth about this, just key things that I will point back to in future segments.
Anyways, I think the drama that resulted from this is pretty funny sometimes, because the main argument that ranters use is that it was illegal for me to draw porn at 12 years old. Sorry, but have you ever met a 12-year-old that hasn't drawn porn?
Heim Guts, Malachi, Charlie, all these fucking retarded Discord alters. I don't even know what gender this motherfucker actually is, but they're fucking crazy. Okay, please don't lynch me in the comments. I just can't be asked to figure out the pronouns of these people. So where do I begin? Let's start with the fact that Heim loves lolicon, gets hard to school shooters, grooms minors, and is worst of all, a neo-Nazi racist. Heim is just your average Discord user with tendencies and intentions that would be difficult for one to understand. But to my knowledge, Birdie says that he has been dating Heim 8 times. Wait. 8 fucking times? So during this relationship, Birdie was around 12 to 13 years old, and Heim was around 11 to 12. They would talk about the wildest shit, bonding with their own masochistic gore fetishes. However, Birdie claims that Heim was an abuser in this situation because he would manipulate him, take advantage of his BPD, and try to change his own personality of that of a groomer called Maddie. Now, for those who don't know who Maddie is, she's basically the one that shall not be named of the whole story, primarily because Birdie was once again too traumatized to even talk about them. Maddie is mentioned to be the overarching big bad of a groomer that Birdie associated with, and that has allegedly groomed Birdie into doing heinous and vile things. There's some foreshadowing there. She's like the G-man of this whole thing, to come to think of it. Anyways, Birdie talks about how Heim put him through yet another psychotic break because Heim had apparently been trying to spread rumors to his audience while also deceiving Birdie into thinking some shit that he had people after him, his nightmares are real, and that Heim can see everything that he does. Some corny ass shit. He does provide screenshots of this, and yeah, Heim is kind of a bitch. However, as for Birdie, he was just as bad. During this relationship, Birdie had developed some kind of unconditional attachment to a literal abuser for some reason. I don't know why he would Oh, of course. It's all mental illness, guys. Birdie's fear of abandonment and unstable attachment to Heim had caused him to rain all hell onto Heim like IRL bullseye.
When I was 12 to 15 years old, I had an intense obsession with him, which included me archiving all of his art and making videos about him constantly, and sexualizing him, stealing his OCs, borderline stalking him, doxing him, and encouraging harassment of him.
He doesn't say this, but he did this because Heim reposted a video that contained Rayman. I genuinely don't know what that whole thing was, but either way, you guys get the pettiness. Birdie also consistently made a bunch of sexual fantasies expressed by comics, YouTube videos, and detailed dreams about Heim. And also the rape chart, which I think is what stands out more about his BPD obsession. Look, man, I was a neurodivergent minor who was being groomed, so give me a fucking break. The situation is very nuanced because it seems to me that while Birdie was essentially being a terrible person as much as Heim was, both of them were very emotionally affected by each other's harassment. Birdie's video describes Heim as just some manipulative, abusive piece of dog shit, but I don't believe he acknowledged hardly at all how he might have affected Heim. Now, I'm not justifying anything here. Heim is a fucking retard, everyone knows that. I'm just throwing out different perspectives. I found a document that served as Heim's vent doc, where they would go in there just to yap about killing himself. Something interesting that I found in there is a bit of text that talks about Birdie, seemingly a cry for help, since they talked about how Birdie, who was undergoing the Birdie Pedo disorder obsession, started carving Heim's name into his arm. Not sure about the certainty of this claim, but Heim seemed pretty on edge about it. So maybe Heim wasn't the heartless, racist, grooming, abusive monster we all thought. Until he later went on to groom 2 other kids. Now in the end, this was just another gay online relationship engaged by minors. It's no surprise that this had an effect on the two because it was overall a very fucked up and twisted relationship, but Birdie doesn't do a good job recalling these important things in his dementiated psychotic mind. I don't know why it's so hard just to own up to shit that you did when you were 12. Like, as long as you learn from these mistakes as you've matured, it's most likely that everyone will forgive you. But Birdie seems to just claim that he's too mentally ill to acknowledge anything important. I want to put this out there that if any of you guys are deeply triggered by the pure racism and bigotry that's presented in these clips, please look away. Because this was probably the most scarring information I had to bear when doing all the research. So I think this was the second or first thing he brings up after saying he'll go into the more serious allegations, which I thought was pretty funny.
I acknowledge I was very transphobic and racist in the past and often used slurs I couldn't reclaim, arguing with people of color about the slur usage, misgendering people and calling them trenders, and generally being very insensitive with matters that come to race and how people would express.
Here, Birdie just makes a whole apology to all the minorities for saying racial slurs and making fun of trans people, and I found it interesting that he chose the word trenders. Probably the only artistic thing I've seen from you, Birdie.
If you feel uncomfortable or unsafe watching my videos because of the things I've said in the past, you have every right to leave.
He seems more apologetic of this than all the grooming shit. He says that he owns up to it, but then switches it off to his jerk buddy Al, because he's yet again too traumatized to talk about how he said the N-word.
I won't be showing these on screen because these can be very triggering for some of my viewers.
As if showing the screenshot of a dog dildo wasn't enough. Dude, you don't need to act like you've become a clan member. Everyone said the N-word in a Discord chat before, and they're basically lying if they say that they haven't. But I will say that it's funny that he put in Al to basically speak for him and basically blame other people for why he started being discriminatory. Like, please just let it go, bro. It's over. But since Birdie refused to show the screenshots because it triggered him apparently, I'll go ahead and show them.
Hello, it's Al again, here for an audition.
I'd like to add in the number 1 on ICE's list, Birdie's only line of defense after being promised a blowjob, even though Birdie was still probably getting cracked by another user on his roster. The only purpose he serves is being a defense attorney for one of the numerous pedophiles in the animation community, claiming that his Mexican heritage somehow gives her the authority to pardon Birdie for the oh-so-heinous crimes of calling some 12-year-old the trender or calling someone the N-word.
Okay, so I'm just going to be further expanding on Jack's part, because I wanted to help him word it in a way that made sense, because not only am I a trans person too, but I'm also, you know, Latino, so I feel like my word has a bit more holding than his, because he's a little cracker.
Yeah, so this guy's saying because he's a trans Mexican means that people are gonna listen to him more.
He wouldn't have that severe internalized transphobia if you guys didn't fucking hound him when he was 14 to prove that he was trans and spewing his ideas with like a bunch of true scum ideology.
Al says that while Birdie is held responsible for all the racist shit, the people who influenced her should also be held accountable too. So it was apparently all their fault for why Birdie turned into such a fucked up mental shit stain. But if you're gonna hold them accountable, first of all, just put every Discord user in jail. Just fucking put them in federal prison at that point. She also ignores the fact that Birdie willingly joined these groups, even after knowing that they would be a toxic and dangerous environment. Acting like Birdie didn't ask for any of this when she very much did.
He has, again, been making a lot of strides in undoing a lot of his internalized transphobia and, you know, racism that he learned while online and from his parents and from a lot of other places. And I can vouch, because, like, you know, I'm a fucking person of color, I'm Mexican. I can vouch that, you know, he's just more sensitive and, you know, aware of the things that he does with his characters that might be...
Okay, yes, your whole argument is valid because you're Mexican. We get it.
But also, I just want to brush up on this. If you're a white person, don't fucking comment on this section of the video, because, you can't accept the apology, obviously. It's not for you.
And you're not black either, so you can't be mad at him saying the N-word.
But also, if you are going to hold him accountable, then I also ask that you at least attempt to hold, like, the other Birdie drama people accountable for their racism. Like, Malachi was, like, super racist. Like, remember the fucking...
Yeah, this is literally the most unserious thing to clown Birdie about. Like, Jesus, you said the N-word or some freaking transphobic remarks at the age of 12 or 13 in a fucking Discord chat. I mean, maybe it'll get in the way of your job application, but like, it's not gonna define you as a person like a bunch of these people are doing. And yet that's not even a problem for Birdie. This motherfucker's never gonna get a job in his life. Who gives a shit about any of this? The ferret incident!
Oh my god, this is the part we want, bro.
This is a pivotal moment in the Birdie pedo disorder lore that mostly highlights the absolute bullshit that this almost 3-hour-long insufferable video had. This topic, and most importantly Birdie's response, had some of the most diabolical statements that me and the bomb man had to hear. Birdie opens up the segment saying how he would like to dispel the rumor that he fucked a ferret.
So, there's this screenshot that my ex spread around of me saying I sexually used my ferret. Of course, if this was true, that would be fucking deplorable, and holy shit, you'd have to send me to jail.
Now get this. When Birdie was the age of 13, Maddie, the alleged overarching antagonist that he keeps refusing to talk about, said, "Hey, you know what would be pretty cool?" So after initially claiming to dispel the rumor, he says this.
I didn't mention this in the screenshot, but the reason this happened is because I was groomed into it when I was 13.
Oh my god.
Oh my... Beautiful wording, Birdie. Did you pull that from your ass? Or no, was it just your psychosis? Birdie admitted to nearly performing teen ants with the ferret, meaning oral sex. But he didn't go through with it. That's all that matters, right? So his main argument first consisted of the fact that he was groomed, but won't elaborate cause he pulls the fucking trauma card again.
I don't have proof of this because I lost the DMs with my groomer, nor do I even want to find them. I don't even want to say his name because this was the most traumatic time that I was groomed. I've been groomed several times, obviously, but this was the worst and I don't want to talk about it for that long publicly.
But he also doesn't make himself look a lot better with this screenshot containing this insane statement. But get this. After rambling about how he would start to cry in agony every time he even saw his ferret, he would conclude by saying that because he was groomed into doing something retarded that was to be considered animal abuse.
I was a victim in this situation, and so was Chara.
You know what? I don't think he was lying about the psychosis. I think the GED and getting spanked by Cindy really did trigger something emotional. It was like one thing for her to say, like, I was groomed into doing this, but it's just another thing to, say that I was a victim
in this situation.
Dude, this is exactly what I've been trying to say. She keeps thinking that she's a victim of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude,
absolutely.
Free will is crazy, dude.
Yeah, dude, this is bad. Hashtag free the fucking ferret. So after the repeated relationship orgy fest between Heim and Birdie, 16-year-old Birdie went on to date 13-year-old Julian, aka Racco, another online fuck buddy that Birdie would share his fetishes with and also engage in erotic roleplays. Like seriously, I thought we were all past this, guys. So a funny thing to note is that during this time, Julian agreed to a poly relationship, meaning Birdie would do ERPs with Julian while also doing consensual ERPs with another person named Jay. 2 BBCs at the same time is actually insane. Jay was the online fuck buddy of which Birdie was referring as
the most traumatic event of my life,
and triggered another psychotic breakdown, causing Birdie to go on another drug trip, cutting himself, saying the N-word, stealing a Hellcat, talking to kids, but we'll get into that later.
I didn't cheat on him. I was in a polycule with him and my other boyfriend at the time, which we all consented to. He cheated on me, would guilt trip me nonstop for being in a polycule that we all consented to.
Yeah, beautiful logic. So Birdie was taking 2 BBCs so she could take different ones, but Julian can't? Birdie in his return video makes him out to be some attention-starved dick sucker who's mad that they broke up, claiming that Julian was the ringleader of most of the drama at that point. He throws in loads of screenshots of Julian wishing death on him, cussing him out, and even leaking his nudes. Wait, they weren't already leaked before? Now this is what fucks my brain. When bringing up the nude leaks, he makes the baseless claim that Julian dismissed the whole thing as high school drama, right as he pulls up a screenshot of Julian's whole paragraph expressing his remorse for not only leaking the nudes, but literally the entire fucking rampage that he was going on throughout that situation. Also, if people are gonna blame Julian for basically leaking child porn, why don't they also blame Birdie for showing them? I don't think Birdie fully acknowledges the seriousness in sending pictures of himself on Discord. Why is he so surprised about it? What the fuck was he expecting? If Julian never leaked them, someone else definitely would've. Additionally, Julian in that screenshot talks about that the things that he was saying about Birdie were mostly influenced by bad people, like adults or something. Which can be back knowing that Julian was in DICE, which I'll go into DICE later on in this video. But that's not all, because there's a lot of shit about Julian, mainly, that Birdie doesn't talk about in his return video.
Jack and I were nasty and hurt each other. There's no denying that. Jack leaves out in his video that he has wronged me and so many other people. Hell, he even completely leaves out his abuse towards Jay. I have witnessed him abusing Jay firsthand, and even currently he still obsesses over him.
W screenshots.
We were in Tonytown on the 4th of July, and Jack joined around the same time, played with some kid on Birdie Twitter, and tried to start a fight. I was the one who tried to stop the fight that he was trying to start.
On a My Little Pony game? So I guess the group chat got into a pissy elementary school fight on a My Little Pony game, and as a result, Birdie proceeded to calmly express his emotions by posting Twitter art of Seth eating out June and some gay Rick Sanchez vent art. Honestly, Jay probably made the right call.
Back to my main point, when me and Jack stopped being friends, Jack started to sexually harass me, told me horrible things, spammed me, doxed me, the like.
God damn!
And I looked up to him and depended on him and his circle for the past 5 years. I was spammed and harassed both on the internet and the real world by his circle.
To his principal? Meaning that they contacted my school and my parents got me on CPS watch list? What the fuck? I mean shit, I knew that Birdie went on about Julian's nudes, comparing them to fucking Chowder from Cartoon Network. But it got to as far as doxing her and putting her on Child Protective Services watch? What could have possibly rooted this shit? BPD? There's no fucking way, dude. At that point, you can't just use that as an excuse.
I'm here to cancel him, nor do I have an actual opinion on him as a person. I do believe he just needs to take responsibility. He has done many—
Bro, he put you on the CPS watch list. What are you talking about? Yeah, I don't know. Julian here says he doesn't have an opinion on Jack, but then 30 seconds later, he proceeds to do exactly that.
He hasn't changed nor deserves his platform because he clearly does not know how to handle one. I get the saying, hurt people, though there goes a point where you need to own up for hurting others.
His explanation and the way he presented his evidence was eating my ass, but it's crazy how Birdie left out all this shit in his video. Anyway, Julian then goes on saying he's sorry about how he treated Birdie and that being goaded by zoophile retards doesn't excuse his behavior, blah blah blah. But he does leave a collage of screenshots. What? Hold on. What the fuck was that? Hold on. Was that the roleplay? What the fuck? All these screenshots basically drop the fucking nuclear bomb on Birdie, linking the Roblox sex roleplays, Birdie threatening to press legal charges, Julian getting accused of reporting Birdie's parents to CPS, and it gets worse. Birdie sending him a heartfelt paragraph and then following it up with gay porn. And even full-on leaking entire group chats with full of nothing but more gay porn. Even Al jumped on the bandwagon, who made a whole account just to make sure Julian was left as a fucking dead headcrab zombie, burnt to a fucking crisp. They even revealed that Birdie had Heim, Jay, and Julian's nudes archived and used as references to flip-a-clip animations. Alright, that was a bit exaggerated, but the point still stands. These demented dumbasses will do anything but take accountability. Alright, here we go. Birdie and Jay broke up in 2021, and so then Birdie meets 13-year-old Draggy, who tries to be Birdie's sneaky link after the breakup.
This breakup alone put me into another psychotic state where I was essentially dissociating 24/7 and became unable to make proper judgment anymore.
He makes the excuse that he was under a psychotic break, probably to try and make himself look better dating another 13-year-old. Jesus, you really need better taste. In the video, he makes it out to be something that he was never really interested in, yet was repeatedly pursued into the relationship by Draggy. So therefore, Birdie makes the claim that Draggy manipulated him into a relationship since he was already in a bad mental state, as if he wasn't already, and Draggy, I guess, took advantage of that?
They were entirely aware of the mental state I was in. I addressed my worries with us dating, but they insisted that they wanted to date me, so I agreed.
But the evidence he provides, yet again, doesn't do a great job of actually proving that Draggy was insisting on a relationship in a manipulative manner, as Birdie describes it.
Fun fact, I was already aroace at this point in time, but I wasn't aware of it yet, so I didn't even experience any attraction towards this person, which can be corroborated by the things I said during this time period. You can also see several instances of me establishing with them that I was not in the right state of mind to be making any proper decisions. But despite the sheer amount of times I said I wasn't in the right state of mind, they continued to pursue me anyways, which, I mean, what can I say? They were 13.
So I'll start off not just the "you're mature for your age" screenshot, since he already admitted that it was horribly worded, which it very much was, but also that Birdie says that there were no bad intentions. That's what they all say, isn't it? Something interesting to add is, even though that Birdie rambled on blaming his psychosis and mental state for why he fed into Draggy's delusions, this screenshot reveals that Birdie started dating Draggy in the first place so that he would give him emotional reassurance and help him get over his breakup with Jay. Not sure if that's supposed to align with his argument, but it's kind of weird since he said how he was taken advantage of and insisted into a relationship. Anyways, Birdie says that there were no romantic or sexual conversations involved with the week-long relationship, but Draggy says otherwise. There indeed was sexual conversations, not exactly ERPs, but sexual topics that you probably shouldn't be sharing with a 13-year-old. So Draggy provides screenshots of Birdie sending her cropped porn of his OC and other sexual conversations involving Birdie's previous online exes. Here even Draggy doesn't say that he was being groomed, which I find interesting. I know a lot of people argue that this was a case of grooming, although I'm not really certain if there really was any grooming going on. However, the nature of the interactions could seem pretty weird and disturbing since it's a 16-year-old, which is the age where an individual is obviously more mature, exchanging NSFW and sexual topics to a 13-year-old who also has BPD and would technically be in the middle school. But then again, the relationship lasted for less than a week. But to be honest, I think if it lasted longer, knowing Birdie, it probably would be a case of grooming. Might have ended up being something like Julian, like Birdie sending them nudes or doing more Roblox sex roleplays. Now, I like to regress the topic to Kitty Dog. I find it funny how when Birdie describes the interactions between him and Kitty Dog as grooming, he denies being a groomer when the interactions were pretty much similar between him and Draggy. Even though it wasn't to that extent, it was still technically the same thing since both Kitty Dog and Birdie had engaged in sending pornography to the younger individual.
Let's not get caught up in the logistics of grooming. I am not misusing the word. I can confidently say that this is what this was.
But I'm not trying to waste my time determining whether this actually was grooming or not. I'm just saying that judging by how Birdie interacted with Draggy long after the relationship and the perspective he gives in his return video heavily implies that Birdie, to this day, probably looks back at these logs and retarded situations and genuinely thinks that he's all in the right. His logic is full of shit, his delusions are full of shit, and I'm sorry to be that guy, but his drawings are also full of shit too. Look how thick this fucking outline is, bruh. This ain't some unique art style, this is just fucking lazy. After Birdie's breakup, he joins the ultimate Discord orgy group called Dice. Dice, Jesus, where do I even begin, is a cult, a literal fucking cult full of paraphiliacs that say that their group is a safe space for outcasts. And when I say outcasts, I mean people who just want to stick their dicks into animals. But they're really just a group of edgy retards that try to fetishize, let me read this off real quick, pedophilia, zoophilia, necrophilia, rape, incest, hate crimes, racism, animal abuse, self-harm, and so on. To join DICE, one of the things you have to do is spray paint the DICE logo onto a place of public domain. So some kid would actually spray the logo at their fucking school. And not only that, but some kid thought it was even cooler to spray it inside the stall of a fucking Dunkin' Donuts. And then of course pulling a Kumo and cutting your name on your leg. The fat fuck who owns this group is Mortis, who's known for his numerous acts of zoophilia and grooming. And as you would expect, Mortis likes child porn, drawing sex fantasies with Birdie, masturbating to dogs, talking about killing his sister, and, you guessed it, suicide.
I saw that one picture of you, I guess, doing your dog.
What? Okay.
What happened with that? Is that, like, real legit?
Well, I haven't done it for, like, years.
Let's get this mother crawl!
So, you do admit to doing it?
Yeah, I do.
Do you regret what you did?
Sort of.
Wow, dude.
I joined DICE because I went through a breakup, the 2021 breakup, that was the worst thing that ever happened to me, and I was suicidal, so I asked if I could join because I wanted to be encouraged to hurt myself.
As if he never already persuaded himself to cut himself before. I guess he just needed advice from the professionals. He explains in this 2-minute segment that he had no contribution to anything in DICE other than being constantly groomed by different members of the server. But of course, his denials were a bunch of bullshit since evidence shows that he was indeed doing some gay shit on the server. I discovered a video, which is now fucking deleted, by Slime, a former member of DICE who was a witness to more Birdie bullshit within the community. Now some of these claims are testimony, but some do have evidence to back it up. During his affiliation with DICE, Birdie had made a group chat including members of DICE, most significantly Slime and her friend Cherry. Keep in mind that Cherry was 12 and Birdie was 16, and I think all during his interactions with Draggy. However, Slime says that they didn't know Cherry was 12 at the time because they were under the impression that they were 13, which I don't think really matters because it's not that much of a difference.
Jack opened up about his sadistic fantasies.
In this group chat, Birdie would basically continue to open up about his sadomasochistic fetishes to a bunch of people, including Cherry, and influencing them to do self-harm. Birdie would also even send pictures of his fresh cuts as shown by Cherry's tweet. Additionally, Cherry makes a crazy testimony about Birdie also sending them a picture of his exposed ribs. Other than it being vouched by Slime and probably others too, Cherry doesn't really show evidence to support it. But whether he did or didn't send his ribs, he still sent pictures of self-harm to a child. So I think it's pretty much common sense to acknowledge how fucked this is. Like, I'm used to finding out people cut their wrists and thighs, but to where it shows your ribs? Like, bro, you're just trying to show off. Like, nobody's impressed. Later on in another server, still with both Slime and Cherry, Birdie would open up to more psychotic tendencies as he normally would, send a torture porn fanfiction of Doki Doki Literature Club, and also inviting people on a call to watch him cut himself with a knife that he got from a fucking dollar store run. So with all being said, this information almost had me throwing up in my mouth. Therefore, it really makes you think if Birdie is just really narcissistic, or that he genuinely has some clinical illnesses in his memory that he may have had a point about. Or maybe both, to be honest. Look, dude, I'm more desensitized to topics related to dumbasses having child porn, but when it includes shit with dogs, that's where I call it raps.
But he had talked about watching, like, Minecraft porn.
Honestly, haven't we all at this point? So Birdie claims multiple times on his video that he's a victim of emotional, sexual, verbal, and physical abuse, primarily from his parents. He explains that the sexual abuse is covert incest, His reasoning behind it is apparently that making your retarded kid shower after God knows how long they've left themselves unbathed is inherently sexual assault. After the tragic end to his online relationship, he started yelling transphobic and ableist slurs in her basement, garnering the attention of her abusive conservative Trump supporter parents.
Put this into perspective for you. They are conservative Trump supporters.
Oh
Okay, yeah.
no!
Okay, alright.
Sexist.
You already know where this is going, just with this.
No.
You already know where this is going.
Anti-maskers, conspiracy theorists, hardcore Christians, they're literally in a cult.
Is that Matt Walsh?
Kids.
The tables turned when the parents turned off the internet, not knowing that by then they had unleashed a feral beast. Now, because the internet was Birdie's only form of escapism, as he describes it, he resorts to cutting himself. His parents refused to take him to the hospital, not wanting to risk their insurance because of a spur gout, so I'd say I was right about the attention-seeking thing. So because of this whole situation, mainly as a result of the internet being cut off, Birdie has another psychotic break, bombs his house, and then proceeds to air out a function. This marks the moment where Birdie quits YouTube for over 2 years. He says he was on hiatus, but was really just doing the same as he's always done within private servers. So I'll put it into short terms for you. He finally moves out of his parents' house while in contact with an online friend in Maryland whom she planned on moving in with. This person is Refix, the person who has been having to carry the burden of suppressing Birdie's tantrums. His therapist, you could say. Hell, this is the guy who had to get him out of Dice. On a little side note, I've lost so much sanity making this video where I'm using Toastify's video for evidence by this point. Goat Kato and Refix were attempting to calm his ass down after constant threats of suicide and cutting himself, trying to convince him that maybe discussing self-harm with other people, kids, instead of learning to hang around better people isn't the best idea. Birdie didn't like this and made up more fantasies about killing Refix. And despite Refix's hospitality, Birdie makes him out to be a love bomber and a manipulator in this video.
According to him, he spent either $200 to $400 on gifts from me from like Amazon that he planned to give to me when I arrived at his house. Ended up sending like 3 of them to me in the mail. I never asked for any of the gifts. He just decided to love bomb me with them, and I
Oh my god.
do anything.
Love bomb!
Because holy shit, that's a lot of money to spend on like a manipulation tactic. If I'm being honest, that's what it is. Holy moly. So, now it's the beginning.
What the fuck are you doing? What are you watching, bro?
I ended up moving
I hear that
4
shit.
times in just
After multiple instances of Birdie being unappreciative and slutty, Maryland guy ghosts him, leaving Birdie stranded yet again. Birdie then proceeds to move in with his grandma. All is well until Granny makes the bold decision that Birdie needs an education. A GED. The bare fucking minimum 3 to 5 hours of the day.
I'm disabled. I know it sounds like I'm making excuses, but I swear to God, my body and my mind were not built for this kind of lifestyle. I quickly got
That's
burnt
just you,
out.
bro.
My body and mind were not built to live a normal life.
Yelled at me,
That's what we all say.
which forced me into
Oh, God, bro.
obedience and led to me attending school programs in a burnt out state for several months. I just so happen to be much slower at it and have a hard time understanding the questions because guess what? I have a learning disability. I expressed this to the
Learning disability. Just say you have ADHD, bro. Like, it's not that hard.
ADHD, depression, schizophrenia, retardation, learning delay,
answering the
I'm
questions,
Fiznoms,
but that I
fucking
didn't understand what
third
they were
testicle.
asking. I don't know if you've guessed, but at this point, I've given up on my GED entirely.
Oh my gosh, you said she never even completed it?
No.
Bro.
Set for fucking failure at this point.
Dude, like...
Anyways,
.4
it's not like I'm
GPA
physically or
activity.
mentally capable enough to uphold
This
a job
is
in
what
the
we're going
first
off of.
place. Fuck capitalism. Fuck the public school.
Oh
God,
no!
bro.
No! Fucking capitalism,
about
bro.
that whole shit.
To Granny, this was about giving Birdie simple responsibilities. But to Birdie, of course, this was abuse. He gets kicked out again and has to live in homeless shelters. This, of course, was an excruciating experience. I mean, it would be for anybody. But no, not because of the filthy pedophilic black dudes in there, but because he had to deal with being misgendered and not being able to use the men's bathroom. When all hope was lost, Birdie got into contact with Cindy Bear, who drove all the way from Missouri to fucking Washington to pick him up. Cindy Bear is another Undertale sans dildo hopper in the animation community that basically does the same shit as Birdie. The two agreed to become roommates, spending 5 months free and away from all the covert incest, grooming, sex roleplays, and rape charts all in the world. Birdie finally finds the peace that he wanted all these years. Wait, nope, never mind. She fucking groomed somebody. As if things couldn't get any better, chaos reigns in the animation community like Archduke Ferdinand got slimed. Cindy Bear had been expressing locker room girl talk to Eno, a minor. This locker room girl talk included Undertale AU rape comics that she had hand drew in her sketchbook. I genuinely thought the fandom in 2016 was put behind us as civilized people, but no! Birdie plans to move out of Cindy's apartment. Honestly, I would too. Except no, it wasn't because he couldn't stand looking at her comics anymore. That would be out of character for Birdie. It was because it reminded him of a time where he had been sexually assaulted by Cindy while he was living with her.
This is worse than like my breakup from 2021. This is the worst kind of betrayal I've ever felt.
Is that what you think?
And I'm not even the victim in this situation. Like, this isn't even about me, but okay, I'll be honest. She has, now that I'm aware of the extent of her behavior, I've been able to reframe a lot of her actions with me, and I think some of the things she did kind of bordered on sexual assault with me.
What?
On a daily basis, she like makes comments about my ass, like how big and squishy it is, and how she wants a boyfriend with an ass like mine, and she would constantly slap it and grab it. And
shit, bro.
I'm gonna be honest,
I mean, my friends do the same thing.
Consented to this because I've never had an IRL friend before, and I didn't know what kind of touching was and wasn't okay. And like, I also consented to her like touching my boobs. And like, I guess like this.
While watching Nightmare Sans getting every single hole in his body filled up, he thought of some random moment where Cindy poked him in his crotch. And ultimately, Birdie realized that he had been SA'd. Birdie starts a GoFundMe with a goal of $10K to be able to move out of Cindy's apartment and live on his own. Realizing that he can't spend another second under the same roof as an Undertale fetishist, Birdie finally moves out and even takes her cat. Let's just hope it doesn't turn out like last time. While the money is filling up, Birdie starts moving in with other friends of hers, most in particular Queen, a complete impulsive idiot who has been facing a shit ton of criticism regarding her side of this animation community orgy.
It really does confuse me why you kept it despite it being illegal.
Kept the cat. So it was actually not illegal. Think of it like this. Two roommates own the same item. One roomate takes the item.
Basically, for animal ownership, grand larceny, and an unhealthy attraction to ashes. Birdie stayed at Queen's house for around 1 to 2 days before he went to stay with Era, an ex-friend of Cindy's, who offered to let Birdie stay with her until he was financially stable enough. There was this whole dumbass situation where Queen ended up stealing Birdie's cat, causing a whole legality argument between Cindy and Queen since Cindy was the initial owner. They threw straight hands in Queen's apartment about it and then finally settled to where Queen would keep the cat. But it was all for nothing because eventually Queen gave it back to her because some group of dudes made a document about her, scaring her into giving it back. Anyway, during this era of the Birdie Pedo disorder lore, he starts living like a rancid nocturnal slob, starting to live with some of Queen's friends, Era and Julie Smith, and turns it into the average college dorm experience. Keep in mind that Birdie recently diagnosed himself with POTS, meaning he's dizzy all the time, fatigued, can't pick his ass up into the shower, and so on. Era and her roommate Jane Doe chose to endure this bullshit. One of them, who has scoliosis, had to give up their bed for Birdie, and also push Birdie up a steep hill driveway while they were in a wheelchair. And remember that GoFundMe money? He only spent it on a wheelchair and My Little Pony plushies. He was financially capable of having doctor's appointments and other important shit, but would refuse to go to any of them out of laziness, of which he yet again blamed on his disabilities. He never wore headphones and kept the overhead light on the whole time until he went to bed, which was at 4 to 5 a.m. At the time, I just ignored my own needs because he vented so much and I felt bad for him, so I let him do it. One time after I worked a night shift and had to go to bed early for a 6 a.m. shift, I barely got any sleep that night, even after taking melatonin, and almost bursted out crying from how overstimulated and exhausted I was from the Marvel Rivals King Hulk scat porn audios blasting off of TikTok. There's a bunch more of this, which I'll just read from Julie's words. Jack left all his dishes in the sink. Jack left all his hair all over the bathroom walls. Jack left a light on 24/7 in his room. Jack used to come out of the room he was staying in, but he stopped. Jack also stopped saying hi every night and would only come out to eat. Even then, he rarely did that, and when I was around, because I stopped making him meals and plates of food. I always cleaned and took out the trash, which Jack never did. Jack mostly ate sweets, candy, and meal prepped burritos that I put together. He usually didn't touch anything that was just ingredients like ground beef, cheese, lettuce, tomato, etc., unless I specifically made him a burrito. Jack would never make his own food. This guy was apparently too disabled to walk around his house properly, pick his ass up and make himself a cheese sandwich, or bend his ass over to put on a pair of pants, because since all he was doing was walking around with underwear on, in front of this dude's parents too. That's amazing how they were able to endure all this for as long as they did. Jesus Christ. The point is, Birdie had raised $11K from her GoFundMe. Could have found herself a job, but mainly be able to get her own apartment. But nope, he needed more sex dolls. I'm too fatigued to walk around another block to McDonald's or the nearest motel run by Mexicans. And no, of course it's not because I don't hydrate or eat properly. It's a disorder. I don't remember how long he stayed with these people, but of course the line was crossed when they heard child porn was involved.
Speaking of nudes, do you have child porn?
What are you talking about?
When you were younger, people sent you nudes, you sent people's nudes, stuff like that from what I've heard.
We were the same ages, and I didn't save any of them. They actually saved them.
For me, getting my bed taken would have been it for me. If I found my bed being slept in by someone who bleeds all over it and takes bird baths in the sink, everybody would have gotten slimed. Birdie finally gets confronted about it and indefinitely kicked out of the residence to go and figure his shit out. And the whole argument was recorded and posted on Ace's channel. And another point of relevance, Ace is Jewish. I just can't prove it right now, but I will.
I'm trying to unpack all of my behaviors that I let things get too out of hand because every time a traumatic situation happens, I just turn into an asshole, and I have to unlearn that every time. And I'm trying to unlearn it. I'm trying to unlearn it again. I'm trying. I just don't want to hurt people around me right now. I don't think it's good to be talking to you guys right now in the state that I'm in. I should have realized that sooner, but yeah.
The fact that you've also said you keep repeating it over and over and over again. At this point, you just need to go into inpatient care. At this point, you just need to go see physical help. Just be like, it's gone way too much. This is a repeating pattern over and over and over again. Go to inpatient care. Literally go to the ER and being like, I'm going to go into patient care. I said you're lucky to be dealing with me instead of those two.
I know it seems convenient, but I just started reflecting. Fuck, this is the first time I've cried in months. So yeah, something is clearly different.
Oh, it's the first time I've cried in months. Shut the f.
And so I tried to look into it, and I'm not going to tell you what disorder it is, but I have another mental disorder that I match all of the.
Oh my god! Bro! Did she just say that she has another mental disorder, bro? Yo, bro.
I found that out yesterday. I looked it up yesterday.
What? What?
Okay.
I'm not going to use it as an excuse because I don't even want to say like.
Yo,
what it is. Like,
dude,
I'm trying to listen to these people sing.
So that finally marks the end of the Birdie Pedo disorder lore as of recently. God only knows what he's doing currently or where he's at, probably in a homeless shelter. But in conclusion, this is what happens when not only you're chronically online on Discord at a young age, but also what happens when you're online dating like this. It seems to me that Birdie has always had this way of twisting past events into ways that make him seem less guilty than the dumbasses in his community. He degraded her involvement with Dice, he reframed the situation with Julian and Refix as high school drama and emotional manipulation, and he uses mental illness not only to excuse getting into a relationship with a 13-year-old, but to justify not doing shit about it to actually change and take responsibility. There's multiple instances throughout the years where he blames his own problems from borderline personality disorder, POTS, schizophrenia, autism, and so on. It's like it gives him a reason to just be lazy and unhealthy. And don't forget how he treats people because of these disorders. Lots of kids on the internet have trauma for the things that Birdie has done to them, of which he blames his disorders for mostly. I said it before, but I'll say it again. If you genuinely make the effort to change from some dumb shit online that you did when you were a kid and take some time to mature, you would have a lot of respect from people and for yourself. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this long ass video. Hopefully the next one won't take me a whole year to make again. Carpenter Brute finally drops another album next year. And yeah, I'm gonna go play Fallout New Vegas now, so I'll see you guys later.